Welcome back to round 10 of Inside the Clinch. My name is Johnny, and I'm joined today, as always, with my lifetime friend, Eric. Eric, what's up? How you doing?
Hey Johnny, I'm good, man. Excited that we finally hit double digits in terms of podcast numbers. Next accomplishment is triple digits. Let's do it.
What's the digits right now?
Where this is episode number 10.
Oh, in terms of episodes, I thought you were going downloads because we've passed that a long time ago.
Yeah, man. So like we said, we got some great news for this episode this week. We are gonna break down the main event for this weekend's UFC card, which is the first card on ABC, which is pretty exciting. We're also gonna get into some dark news in the world of MMA, and we also have another exclusive interview at the very end to wrap up this episode. So stay tuned, guys. We're gonna have some great content for you.
Right, so the UFC is finally back, and not only is it back, we're gifted with the awesome card. We have Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar headlining UFC Fight Island 7. How hype are you for this card, bro?
Dude, I'm very excited. I mean, it's the first card of 2021. We had to wait a couple of weeks since the last event. I'm excited, man. Whenever there's a fight week, I'm excited. This is gonna, like we said, the first event on ABC ever, which is big news. ABC is not one of the channels or networks that the UFC was previously on. Usually before they were on Spike TV, on Fox Sports, on ESPN. These are all kind of channels with specifically sports viewers. I feel like ABC is more of a family network and a channel that everybody has access to. So this is going to be a great way for the UFC to get in front of a lot of household eyes.
Yeah, so this Saturday, the prelims start at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, and then at 3 p.m., it's going to be on ABC One and on ESPN Plus. So the prelims are going to be on ESPN Plus at noon, and then the main card is going to start at 3 p.m. on ABC One and ESPN Plus. So let's dive into the main event: Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. What are your thoughts on this fight? I know we discussed this already, but now we're closer to the fight. You have any differing opinions, or how excited are you for this fight?
Dude, I'm excited. The Blessed Express is back. I'm excited for that. Max Holloway is just the man. The more I've been looking at the interviews and stuff during fight week, the more I'm excited for this event. Max looks like he's hungry, like he's ready to get back in the win column. And Calvin Kattar looks like someone that, is doesn't want to get looked over. He feels like he's being looked over by the fame of Max Holloway, and he has a rightfully so. He's a little bit bitter about that, but I think it's going to be a perfect recipe for an excellent fight this weekend.
Yeah, this fight is going to be a great stepping stone for both fighters. Max Holloway is coming off of two losses. He's coming off a loss to Alexander Volkanovski, and he lost him once again. You and I both believe that he won the second fight, but with the win in this fight, this is going to put Max Holloway back into the title contention. So for Max Holloway, he needs to win this fight, and he needs to hope that Brian Ortega wins the fight with Alexander Volkanovski, because I don't know how interested the UFC is going to be in making the rematch with Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski for the third time after Max Holloway lost two times. But this is a big fight for him. And in terms of Calvin Kattar, this is a big fight for him as well. He's
Biggest to
coming off
date.
of two wins. Yeah, he's coming off of two wins. His last win was against Dan Ige, and prior to that was Jeremy Stevens, where he knocked him out in the second round. Beautiful knockout.
Beautiful.
And before that was probably one of my favorite Calvin Kattar fights with Zabid Magomed Sharipov. That fight didn't go his way, but we saw a resilient and tough Calvin Kattar, and I believe this Calvin Kattar is going to come back in this fight with Max Holloway.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a very high level striking match. Both fighters are phenomenal strikers. It's going to be very exciting. So I guess official pick for you. Who do you got?
My official pick is probably Max Holloway. Wait, before we get off this topic, what do you think? Do you think because the narrative around this is that Max Holloway is deteriorating a little bit? Do you think that's the case at all, or?
Absolutely not. Like I mentioned last time, I think people are out of their mind that think that. I mean, Max Holloway he only has a loss pretty much since Conor. He's only lost to Volkanovski. I mean, he went up to fight Porier. That was out of his weight class. I guess we can exclude that for this conversation.
A loss is a loss.
A loss is a loss. Poirier, like we've seen, he's a high-level MMA fighter. So, I mean, it's not like he just lost to nobody. But he had two back-to-back losses to Alexander Volkanovski. And those were, like I said, those are very competitive fights. Those aren't fights that he got dominated in. Those aren't fights that he got outclassed in. Those are fights that he was in from start to finish. He was, in the fight. It was a very, very close fight, and a fight that could have gone either way. So, if a different referee was sitting at the table that night, maybe Holloway would have won that night. You know what I mean? So I don't see anything about Max Holloway deteriorating, but I do see the rest of the division, slowly catching up to Max Holloway, which is also interesting to see.
Yeah, for sure. So on paper, this fight looks very sick. It looks like it's going to be a very exciting fight, and I'm definitely excited to see it, man. But yeah, let's move along the card. So we have Matt Brown versus Carlos Condit in the co-main event. Two legends in the sport. One maybe a
Veterans.
little bit bigger than the other, and yeah, two veterans. I feel like Carlos Condit did a little bit more in the sport. Bigger name. I believe more people know who Carlos Condit is
Yeah, he
just
was
because of
involved a
his
bit
relationship.
more.
Yeah, he has bigger fights. He fought for the title with George St. Pierre. Everybody knows that fight with George St. Pierre. So this is a sick fight. What do you think? What do you think of this fight?
So this one is actually very interesting. The UFC has actually made a very great matchup here, in my opinion. These are two veterans, two old-time fighters, and it makes a lot of sense to match them up. They're coming from the same era. They're coming from, they're pretty much the same age. So it's gonna stylistically timing, like, as individuals, I feel like matching these two up was like the perfect matchup for them. Neither one of them has been doing too great as of late. Matt Brown is 2-4 in his last 6, and Carlos Condit recently broke a 5-fight losing streak with a decision win. So, they're both of them. It kind of looks like they're on the tail end of their career, and I'm glad that Dana isn't kind of using either of them like a stepping stone, for some of the younger contenders. I'm actually very glad that they're fighting each other. Carlos Condit, during fight week, he actually mentioned that this is his last fight in his contract, so he's really going for a win here since he's going to be up for renegotiation. So retirement isn't in his mind right now, which is, we're glad to see as fight fans. As far as the fight itself, I think Matt Brown is going to have a better advantage standing up. I think he has more power shots. I feel like he has heavier shots. And I feel Carlos Condit is a little bit more well-versed on the ground. He has some pretty impressive submission wins, and Matt Brown has actually lost via submission 10 times in his career, in his professional career. So I think this is good. Yeah, so I think if Carlos Condit can find a way to get this fight to the ground, I think he could, slip in a submission and, get a submission inside the end of the fight.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Like you said, these fighters are both veterans. In terms of Matt Brown, he's 40 years old. Carlos Condit is 36 years old. Matt Brown made his pro debut in 2005. Carlos Condit made his debut in 2002. So they've been around for a very long time. As we know, with Matt Brown, he's a very heavy puncher. He has 14 wins via KO or TKO. But with Carlos Condit, the thing about him is that not only is he well versed on the feet, he's also a great submission artist, as you mentioned. So Carlos Condit could do everything. He could knock out his opponent. He could win decisively. He could win via decision, via submission. He could do it all. But the thing about it is that Carlos Condit, he was on a 5-fight losing streak before winning his last fight with Court McGee via decision. So this is not the same Carlos Condit. It's not only is it not the same Carlos Condit, we can't even put this Carlos Condit on the same, like, it's not the same person. It's a totally different fighter. So I'm gonna probably agree with you, and I'm gonna go with Matt Brown just because I feel like Matt Brown still has the strength. I feel like he's a stronger fighter, and I feel like he's gonna probably get the knockout.
So you think Brown with a knockout?
I'm going with Brown via TKO or knockout. I don't think this fight is going to decision. I feel like Matt Brown's a very powerful fighter. I know, don't let the record fool you. His record is 22-17, but he's a very powerful fighter, and he's not coming off. He's not on a losing streak. He's still in the game, So It's going to be an exciting fight. I know they're way past their prime, but this fight I feel like is going to provide some type of nostalgia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they still bring a lot to the table, and I think both fighters are still exciting to see every time they step in. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. So next on the card, we have a longly anticipated return. We have Santiago Ponzinibbio returning against Li Jingliang. Ponzinibio has been out for 2 years. He was coming off of an injury, and then he had some back-to-back health issues. So, it's keeping him out of the octagon for a little bit. but he's coming back into this fight as a heavy fan favorite. I think the betting line opened at about minus 250 favorite. It grew, I think the last I checked was minus 280. It's probably going to grow a little bit more by the time fight night rolls around. But I'm excited to see Ponzinibio back. How about you, John?
Yeah, so Ponzinibio, prior to his departure, I don't really know what happened to him. Was he injured? Was he sick?
He was injured, and then I think he had some, I forgot exactly what it was, but there were some back-to-back health complications keeping him away.
Yeah, so prior to leaving the UFC for whatever reason it was, this dude was on a tear, and he was on top. He was a top dog in the division. Let me just read off some of the names that he beat. So he beat Neil Magny his last fight, and prior to that, he beat Mike Perry, Gunnar Nelson, Nordine Taleb, Zach Cummings, Court McGee, Andreas Styles. So he was on a 7-fight winning streak, and his current record is 27-3. He's a real contender in the division. He could win the fight any way he wants. He has 15 wins via TKO or KO. He has 6 wins via submission. As I said, he's a beast. And I don't even know if I want to mention Jingliang after his performance with Neil Magny. But I'm going to side with Ponzinibio on this one. I don't think Jingliang deserves to be mentioned in this fight, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Ponzinibio, like you mentioned, I mean, he's like a full MMA package. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He's an amazing kickboxer with some phenomenal knockout power. I mean, look, he has all he can take the fight anywhere, and I think he's gonna look great. Jingliang, ironically, he's only really had impressive performances on the China cards. If you look at his record, shout out to George St. Pierre. But if you look at Jingliang's record, I mean, he only seems to put on great performances on the events that take place in China. I don't know if it's the home crowd that cheers him on. I don't know exactly what it is, but whenever the events take place in China and he's on the card, he gets either performance of the night or fight of the night. So he gets a little bonus thrown for performing well. But outside of that, I mean, I don't know what it is. He's not very impressive in my opinion. And the more I look at this fight, the more I think this is going to be like a showcase fight for this fight card. Don't forget, this is going to be the first time they're on a new network, getting a lot of new eyes on it. So they are going to want to have, 1 or 2 showcase fights. And I think this is what that is. I mean, Ponzinibio is a phenomenal mixed martial artist. And I think he's going to make light work of Jingliang this Saturday.
Yeah, so I'm going to say one thing about Jingliang. The dude, he's powerful. If he lands, he could knock you out. That's about it. That's the only way I could see him winning the fight. I feel like Ponzinibio is just on a different level. And you were talking about the fans, the Chinese fans. I don't know if this really relates to anything, but for the first time, we're having fans back in Abu Dhabi. We're having 2,000 fans, as projected by the UFC. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that. So, I mean, that's really exciting. We're going to have a bit of an audience back, and hopefully, it grows little by little for each event. Hopefully things slowly go back to normal.
Maybe, I know there's not going to be a Chinese audience, but maybe this audience is going to give some type of spark to Jingliang, and we're going to see an upset. But I really don't see it happening.
Yeah, the only, I guess, question on Ponzinibio would be if the time off has affected his performance. Like we said, he hasn't fought since 2018. So 2-year layoff, depending how active you stay, it could impact your performance. But it looks like that the work ethic of Ponzinibio looks like he's not someone to slack on his training. So, I mean, I have no reason to count him out.
Yeah, so prior to recording this podcast, I was just watching some of his recent fights, and Ponzinibio he's an animal, dude. And I'm going to be really, really surprised if Jingliang pulls the upset in this fight. So it's going to be an exciting one. As you said, it's going to probably the showcase fight, either this or the fight, the first fight on the card with Punahele Soriano versus Dusko Todorovic. I don't know how to pronounce the names, but that fight is also going to be exciting. We're going to get to that in a second. But before we get to that, Joaquin Buckley versus Alessio Di Chirico.
Let's go, man. It's the return of the highlight reel, huh? So Joaquin Buckley has become pretty much a household name after his spinning back kick knockout earlier last year. That knockout just went viral. Pretty much everyone in the MMA world and outside of it has seen that just phenomenal knockout. Buckley did have one performance since then, and I don't know if the pressure of matching his last performance.
I think it was the pressure. Honestly, it was just all the hype between his with his viral KO. I feel like he just wasn't the same. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I don't know if that put pressure on him because he didn't necessarily have as amazing of a performance last time as he did 2 performances ago. And his opponent wasn't necessarily anyone too amazing either. Now, I think what the UFC is trying to do with Buckley, while his name is so hot, while he's so well known, I think they're trying to just milk him as much as they can. Get for the UFC to get as much money out of it. I'm sure for Buckley to get as much out of it as they possibly can. So I think they're gonna try to set another fight up like this for him. Hopefully to I don't want to say hand feed, but make it a little bit easier for him to get a win.
No, I agree with you. I agree that the UFC is they're trying to make some money off this kid. The thing about Buckley, I was never really a big fan of his. That knockout was beautiful, but I feel like this is the fighter that his last fight, maybe the pressure was a little bit on, but I feel like this is the type of fighter that he is. He's not that crazy type of fighter. He just had that crazy knockout because he's so athletic. But I feel like this is the Joaquin Buckley that he is. You know what I mean? But yeah, with Chirico, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Let me just read you the names. He's coming off a loss to Zach Cummings in his last fight, and prior to that, he lost to Magomed Muradov and Kevin Holland. Buckley also has a loss to Kevin Holland. But I feel like the UFC set this fight up in order for Buckley to win. This fight I feel like is made for Buckley to win. Because he's the up and coming fighter. He had that viral knockout, and I feel like they're just trying to project his name higher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Hopefully we still get an amazing performance, but hopefully Buckley gets his hand raised here.
Yeah, I expect him to get his hand raised. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think he should be able to get it done with, I think, TKO.
TKO?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's another exciting fight. I mean, this entire card is pretty exciting. This main card is pretty exciting. Every single fight so far.
Yeah, even looking at the prelim cards, I mean, might not be some of the biggest names, but it's going to be an exciting card. Very, very exciting. So moving on to, I guess, the beginning of this main event card, we have Soriano versus Todorovic. Both coming in undefeated. Going to be really excited way to get the main event started. What's your take on this, John?
I mean, this is a very, very, very exciting fight. We have Dusko 10-0 and Soriano 7-0, two undefeated fighters. Soriano is coming in as a slight underdog at plus 135. Dusko at minus 160, the fighter from Serbia. So they're both young fighters. Dusko is 26 years old. Soriano is 28 years old. Very well-versed fighters. They could fight standing up. They could submit. They're just very well-versed. They're very high IQ fighters, and they're both young and very hungry. So I feel like maybe a performance bonus we're going to see in this fight. But I'm excited for this one as well. And I feel like this is the perfect way to start off the main event, a stacked main event, and a great way to start off the main cards of 2021 for that.
Sure, yeah. I think I'm going to be leaning a little bit more towards Todorovic in this fight. He is a little bit bigger. I think he's a couple of inches taller, and he has a couple of inches advantage in the reach. I think he's a bit more well-rounded, and I think he does have the power to knock out Soriano. Like you said, hopefully we get to see a performance bonus here. I think that's very much in the realm of possibility, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Holloway Kattar will be fight of the night, because I'm super excited for that one, man.
Yeah, me too. But somebody's undefeated record has to go.
Somebody's O has to go.
Somebody's O has to go. That's right. So this is gonna be exciting. It's an exciting card, and as I said, a great way to start off 2021. So let's go. Let's go.
All right, so we are hit with some dark news this week in the world of MMA. So Erwin Rivera, MMA fighter that was last fighting in the UFC at bantam and featherweight divisions. He was arrested last Thursday for 2 counts of attempted murder in Florida and is currently being held without bail. Police responded to multiple calls in reference to a stabbing. And when authorities came, they found 2 of Erwin's sisters on the floor covered in blood. Pretty bad condition. Thankfully, they were rushed to the hospital. The girls were stabbed in the back, the face, the arms, and the hands. I know one of them suffered 2 collapsed lungs. So one of the sisters is in stable condition while the other still is in critical condition. So, our thoughts and prayers going out to that family. But some dark news in the world of MMA this week.
Yeah, this is some crazy stuff. We got his two sisters. One of them was 22 years old, and one of them was 33 years old. As you said, they suffered stabs in the back, face, and arms and hands. That's the younger sister, and the older sister had the two collapsed lungs. And keep in mind that we only have two lungs, so this is something very crazy. And the crazy thing about this is that the sisters, they forgive him, and they don't really want anything happen to their brother. I feel like this guy is, I don't know. He's obviously not mentally stable. There's something wrong. He needs help, and he needs to be in a facility where they can contain him, obviously, because he can't be walking around the streets. You know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, let's just give a little breakdown of what actually happened. So, the two sisters came over to their brother's house. They planned to spend the evening there. So, they went to bed, and one of the sisters woke up to Erwin stabbing them, which is, I mean, I can't imagine what kind of a wake up that must be.
Yeah, there were reports of the neighbors saying that they heard screaming of screaming saying he's trying to kill me.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second. So there was first this, I guess, one sister woke up to being stabbed. While she was trying to fight him off, the other sister actually was able to run out of the room, and she called the cops. I know there was a bit more of a scuffle over there. Then one of the sisters got out of the house and was able to get to a neighbor's house. The neighbor actually helped also get in touch with the authorities. Shortly after, the neighbors did see Erwin walking around covered in blood, and when the authorities when the neighbors looked at him, he just said, nothing is going on here. Close your door. Go back inside. And he tried to run away, try to hide, but thankfully police caught him in around 4 hours later. So he's detained and hopefully where he should be.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's obviously not going to be a future for him in the UFC, but this problem goes past the UFC.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely insane. He shouldn't be allowed to fight. He needs help. Obviously, he shouldn't be roaming the streets. But let me read you off the UFC statement. UFC is aware of the recent incident involving Erwin Rivera and subsequently received information from his management that he has been exhibiting behavior consistent with mental health issues. A UFC statement on this situation read. Okay, yes. So the allegations are extremely troubling, and the organization is currently gathering additional information. The investigation is ongoing, and any potential next steps, including disciplinary action or medical attention, will be determined upon the conclusion. Furthermore, UFC has informed Rivera's management that he will not be offered a bout at this time. So, as I said, the UFC is not extending his contract. They're not letting this lunatic fight in the UFC. I don't know if that's a proper way to refer to him, but this is honestly pretty insane.
I mean, this is clearly someone unstable, someone that needs to be institutionalized. Hopefully, they get him the help he needs to get him under control. But I mean, like you said, UFC is kind of the least of his worries at this point. I don't think he should be fighting. But at this point, he just needs to get the help that he needs.
It's so crazy because his sisters apparently say that this type of behavior, they seen something weird about him, but this type of behavior just out of nowhere is just so crazy that things like this just could happen. This one day your brother just tries to kill you for no reason, and
Well, he had a reason actually. When the cops caught him, I think this was the most disturbing part. So
he was possessed, right?
He said in quotes, it was my sole purpose, and I was told to do so by a higher power, which is the most disturbing response.
He obviously has some type of mental instability. Maybe he's like suffers from some type of hallucination, some schizophrenia or something like that. But yeah, this is a sad story in the UFC, and it's crazy.
All right, so I guess let's turn our news to a little bit more of a positive note. So USADA recently announced that they're essentially not tracking marijuana in their drug tests anymore. Um, they did change the rules, recently over the last few years. I know initially they weren't allowed to have pot in their system at all. Then they changed the rules to the fighters weren't allowed to smoke a certain number of days before and after their fight. But now it looks like they won't care at all if it's in their system. And in quotes, unless USADA can prove that it is being used for performance enhancing qualities, which, quite frankly, I don't really know how you can, but I guess that's the argument
Yeah,
that they can make when the time comes.
yeah. So this is what the UFC ESPN page said. Beginning retroactively on January 1st, a positive drug test for carboxy-THC, the psychoactive ingredient in cannabis, will no longer be considered a violation unless USADA is able to prove that the athlete intentionally used it for performance-enhancing purposes. So this is a statement from ESPN MMA. But yeah, so finally, this stupid rule is not in effect anymore, and the fighters can get high whenever they want. So what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's about time. I mean, there's a lot of fighters open about it. There's a lot of fighters that are being suspended about it, which is even a bigger concern in my opinion. Most recently, Nico Price just had a great performance against Cowboy Cerrone, and he's now suspended for a few months because, he tested positive. Um, the point of USADA has always been and should be to catch people, taking steroids and other kind of drugs to enhance their performance. I think it's a safe argument that nobody really uses cannabis for performance enhancing qualities. Some of them use it to reduce inflammation, reduce stress, go to sleep. There's different medicinal uses for it, but I don't think any of them are necessarily qualities that would enhance your performance athletically in any way.
Yeah, I feel like the only issue with this is that what they were trying to prevent was fighters basically getting high before they actually went and had a fight. So I feel like that could be an issue. Like that's not. I don't feel like it's a safe thing for fighters
I
to
mean, I don't
go.
think that's the professional thing to do at this. Like, it's not like you're in a backyard street fight. You know what I mean? You're performing at a high level. I feel like that's pretty irresponsible for you to do
I mean,
on fight night.
I feel like some fighters believe that they're better when they're high. Like some people believe that they're better when they're studying, or that they're better when doing like random things. So some of these fighters probably think that they're a better fighter when they're high. So I feel like that could be dangerous. I feel like they should try to avoid that somehow. But I feel like weed, a lot of fighters benefit from it, from anxiety issues, from physical pain, from various reasons. I feel like this is a big day in UFC and MMA history.
Yeah, milestone, like you said. So I'm excited for this. So moving on to I guess our last bit of news. Fight week is coming closer between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. There's been, a little bit of smack talk leading up to it. Not as much as we would have liked to see, I guess, with a formal press conference. But both of them are taking shots at each other. Conor this week said that he plans to finish Dustin out inside 60 seconds. What's your take on that?
I don't know if that's gonna happen, to be honest. I know that Conor is the favorite right now, but I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight. Dustin Poirier is not gonna give up. Like the one thing that we know about Dustin Poirier is that he's resilient. He's not gonna give up. He could be bloody, and he said that his main focus in this fight is to be bloody and hurt, and he wants to see who has more heart. So we'll see what happens. I don't think Conor has what it takes to Cowboy Cerrone him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely think it's going to be a much better Dustin Poirier than we saw back in 2014. Um, so I used to be a huge Conor fan, but lately, I don't know, the overwhelming mainstream, I guess, fandom of Conor has just been kind of bothering me. His ego's kind of been blowing up out of proportion. When he says things like, I'm going to knock you out within 60 seconds to someone like
You're
Dustin
doing
Poirier,
nothing.
I kind of, that makes me want Poirier to win. I kind of want Poirier to knock him out instead, to kind of shut him up for talking all that smack. I mean, when Conor was active, when Conor was talking shit, saying he's going to knock this person out in the first round, that guy out in the second round, it meant something because he was active in the sport. But when you're coming and going, fighting once a year, I feel like who cares? You can't be talking up that much smack if you're not backing it up. He used to back it up. He's not backing it up anymore. So I feel like when he makes comments like that, I kind of root against him.
Yeah, so I have around like 8 or 9 words to tell you. The double champ does what the fuck wants.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact.
I mean, listen, Conor McGregor, I love Conor McGregor. He's just so funny, and I feel like when he's on top in the sport is just more entertaining. So I'm not gonna say that I want Conor to win because Dustin Poirier is just such a phenomenal guy. He seems like such a good person with his give the fighters what's this foundation, the Good Fight Foundation. So obviously I like Dustin Poirier as a fighter. I like to see him win, but I don't think Conor McGregor has what it takes to do it in the 60 seconds to
I agree.
defeat Dustin Poirier in 60 seconds. No way.
I agree. Maybe the first round if Conor gets lucky, but I mean, the chance. I also don't think Dustin is stupid enough to rush into Conor. I think the only way Conor's going to get that knockout is if Dustin is coming in. I don't think Dustin's stupid enough to just, rush into Conor unless, he gets into feels and kind of gets blinded by rage.
So what's going to happen in this fight? Who's going to win? How are they going to win?
I'm sticking to what I said last year. If it ends within the first 2 rounds, I think Conor wins by knockout. Otherwise, Porier is going to get his way with Conor.
I'm going to give you a hot take.
Okay.
Dustin Porier is going to win.
Hey, man, I wouldn't be upset. Like I said, I kind of want to see him
He's going to
the
do
Conor hype train.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier. I don't know. This is a hard one to decide on, but I feel like I don't know. People are saying that we just interviewed Ilay Barzilay, and he thinks that Conor is gonna win, right?
Yeah.
So the consensus here, most people think that Conor is gonna win, but I feel like Dustin Poirier has what it takes to pull off the upset. He's still, I feel like, very hungry, and Khabib is no longer really in the picture anymore. We don't know if he's coming back, so I feel like this gives Dustin Poirier another chance to become the champion of the division.
Yeah, it'll definitely give him another opportunity. So we'll see if he can capitalize on the opportunity.
Yeah, and Dana White said that basically the winner of this goes on to fight for the title. So
he said if Conor wins.
Did he say if Conor wins?
I think he said if Conor wins. I don't know. I hate how much Dana's favoring Conor. I mean, Conor is not active. You can't be making these kind of plans with Conor if Conor is not fully in the game.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So, guys, we got a stacked week. We have 3 events this week. We have a fight this Saturday. We have a fight on Wednesday. And then we have another fight card next Saturday with Conor and Porier. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all platforms, guys. It really means a lot. On Instagram, we are Inside The Clinch MMA. On Twitter, we are ITC MMA Podcast. And on YouTube and Facebook, we are Inside The Clinch MMA Podcast. So stay tuned. We have a very exciting exclusive interview next with Ilay Barzilay, Israeli MMA fighter.
Yeah, Israeli MMA fighter, 19-year-old fighter. He has some trouble with his English, so bear with the interview a little bit. But I feel like he did a great job, and he's a fighter to look out for. So enjoy the interview, and thank you for listening to round 10 of Inside the Clinch.
Hello, everybody. We have a very special guest today, Israel's very own Ilay Barzilay. Ilay is currently 19 years old with a record of 2-1 as an amateur. He's a gold medalist at the BJJ European Championship under 18 years old and a silver medalist at the BJJ World Championship under 18 years old. Ilay has a fight booked this Saturday against Chris Wright in Panama City, so we caught him just in time. First off, before we start, I just want to say thank you for joining us today, and we really appreciate you taking the time. Johnny, want to start us off with the first question?
Yes, of course. All right. So Ilay, shalom. Welcome to Inside the Clinch MMA podcast. My first question for you is, what would you say the biggest difference between training here as opposed to Israel?
There's a big difference between training in Israel and USA. I would say here in USA, I have more the mix of the combination of all the mixed martial arts together. So here I really like studying what is MMA. In Israel, most of the time I'm working with very good K1 fighters and very good BJJ fighters and good wrestlers, but it's hard to find there the mix. So that's what I have here in Vegas, and I think also I feel like it's the best place to be for fighters today to be in Vegas. Everything is happening here, and the level here great. I got here better training partners. I still have the training in Israel, but I'm feeling like here it's just different level.
What part of Israel are you from?
Herzliya. It's near Tel Aviv.
Okay, because me and Eric have been to Israel maybe like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. and we loved it there.
Yeah, it was a beautiful country. There. Can't wait to go back.
Where? In Tel
We went
Aviv?
on birthright, so we went everywhere from Tzfat, Jerusalem, everywhere pretty
Oh.
much.
Nice. Yeah. Israel is a beautiful country.
Awesome country.
So there aren't a lot of Israeli fighters in MMA at the moment. What does it mean to be? What does it mean to you to be basically like a pioneer for your sport, from your country?
Or that's a big. From one side, it's a big pressure on me, because it's a very small country, and I got a lot of eyes there of the Israeli fans, but I also proud to represent my country, and there's not a lot of fighters from Israel that come to USA for fighting. So I guess like it's big thing to me, and big pleasure that I got some support from my country, and also right now we got Israeli UFC fighter. He just contract with the UFC. His name is Natan Levy.
Yeah, we're very well aware of him.
Yeah,
we saw his fight on Dana White's Contender Series, right?
Yeah, he fought on Dana White Contender Series, and he had great performance there. And right now, also because he signed there, there's a lot more eyes, more Israeli fans for the sport, and the sport starts to becoming more popular in Israel.
Is he the only Israeli fighter that's fighting in the UFC as of right now?
He's the third one to ever fight in the UFC, but the first one was he fought on the UFC a lot of time ago. Like there wasn't even gloves in the time. The second one is not Lat. He fought a couple years ago at the UFC, and right now we have just Natan there, and he's like my big brother. We're training every day together, and it's a great experience for me as a young fighter.
Awesome. So do you know when you're going to make your professional debut, and are you trying to do the same thing as your friend Natan Levy did and do it through the Contender Series as well?
Sorry, my pro debut?
Yeah. When are you going to make your pro debut? Do you know? And are you trying to do it through Dana White's Contender Series as your friend and teammate Natan did?
Right now I'm just 19 years old, so I feel like definitely in a pro competition level, and I feel like I can win there even now. But I think I'm gonna wait a little bit, maybe until next year or until 21. And then I'm gonna do my pro debut. I mean, what me and my coaches every time say that the plan is to win a couple of fights, to be 4-0, 5-0, and then go to the contender series and get its contract. My goal is to be at the UFC in 22, 23 years old. I think it's possible, and I can do it in this age.
That's great. Yeah. So, looking at your resume, you have a very impressive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu resume. Like we said, you got gold at the European Championships and silver in the World Championships. What would you say your biggest goal was in the sport of BJJ? Your biggest accomplishment in the sport of BJJ was?
I feel like the European Championship. It was I was part of the Israeli national team, and it was a lot of pressure for this competition. I trained very hard for this competition, and after I lost the final in the Worlds, I lost the final like 3 seconds before the fight end. The opponent swept me, and I lost. Then I trained super hard for the European Championship, and I got the gold medal. So I think definitely this competition, and after this competition, I start focus a lot on the MMA aspect. Then I flew here to Vegas.
Awesome, awesome. In regards to your next fight with Chris Wright, what do you believe your key to victory is? Because he's currently on a losing streak, I believe, correct?
Is what?
He's on a losing streak, Chris Wright, as of right now. What do you believe your key to victory is?
I think he won his last fight.
He won his last fight?
Yeah, he won his
Okay.
last fight. The plan is like every time stepping in the cage, I have all the ability to finish the fight. I can finish it on the feet, on the ground, and I feel like I really can be dominate everywhere. I improved a lot my striking in the last year. I feel like my opponents, they're tough, but after the first round or second round, they start to break mentally because my shape is very good. I'm training for this fight harder than then. I'm sure on this, and I think after the first round, they see how good is my shape, and they just I think it's gonna be the same this time. I'm gonna break mentally if I won't finish him at the first round, and I'm sure I'm gonna get the W. I think it might be tough, but I have the skills and the toughness to win this fight everywhere.
So now that you're living in Las Vegas, where are you training in? Who are you training with?
I'm training at Syndicate.
Syndicate. Okay.
With under John Wood.
Is that do they keep you busy there? You have good number of training partners to rotate between?
Yeah. Most of my training partners, they're in the UFC right now. There's a lot training partners in my weight in this gym, so it's super good for me. And as a young fighter that look out for all these fighters, it's a great experience for me to train with them every day, to compete with them, and to learn from them. So that's definitely very good for me.
Which fighter would you say you look up to the most?
I think Forrest Griffin.
Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, because he's not fighting anymore, but like I really like his work ethic when he were fighting, and how you were working at the gym, and he's mentally, and I think we have some similar stuff, and I really like him, and also Jose Aldo.
Yeah, that fight with Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner changed MMA.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of him, Forrest Griffin as well.
Yeah, Forrest Griffin is the man.
Man.
So when all is said and done, when you're done with the sport of MMA, when you retire, do you have any long-term big goals that you wish you want to accomplish before you retire?
I might be coaching, or who knows how far I'm gonna get. I might have big things in front of me in the future. So I don't know. It's hard to say right now, but I think I'm gonna keep doing something like in the sport, not fighting, but coaching or do something for the sport of MMA.
Yeah, it's amazing that you're willing to dedicate your whole life to the sport, even starting as young as you're starting. So it's, very great to see. And, Johnny and I are both very excited to watch your career from the start. And, we're going to be on board for the long run.
Yeah,
thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm gonna end off on this last question. So there's a few very exciting fights coming up. I'm sure you know Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar and Conor McGregor versus Dustin Porier. I just wanted to know what your opinion is. Who do you predict to win? How do you predict they're gonna win? I just want to hear it from you.
About Max Holloway and Calvin, I had the opportunity to see Calvin training for this fight, and even talk with him a lot of time. So this guy is a monster. I really think he's gonna surprise a lot of people and win this fight. I think that's a really hard matchup for Max Holloway. I think gonna be a tough fight, but Calvin gonna win this fight. And about Justin Porier and McGregor, I feeling like Conor gonna win this fight. I hope Porier is gonna win this fight, but I think Conor training really good for this fight. I have this feeling, and he looks really strong right now. I think he might win by TKO.
Why you're not a fan of Conor McGregor?
Not really. I
Not
don't.
really?
I'm not a hater, but I also not a fan. So
Not
What-
impressed.
What about him?
Yeah.
You don't like his like personality, the way he presents himself. What about him?
I think in the last couple of years he was a little bit over trash talking, and I am sure I think Conor is a good guy, but I just don't think I think he got a little bit crazy in the last couple of years. But I like more Justin Porier personality for sure.
Definitely
Yeah, he's a
agree
great
with you
guy.
there. So, Ilay, for your fight this weekend, is it going to be streaming anywhere so our fans can tune in and watch?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a live stream from my Facebook page, Ilay Barzilay page, or at my Instagram, Ilay Barzilay. So there's gonna be live stream probably from one of them, and you can watch from there the fight.
Awesome. We'll share it with the fans, and we're excited to watching you fight. Best of luck.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any last words you want to tell the fans, Ilay?
Just thank you thank you everyone for all the support. I really appreciate it, and I promise to give my best, and I have no doubt I'm gonna get my second W in 1 month. That's gonna be my second W in 1 month. So you have what to expect for. I'm gonna bring a lot of skills to this war.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. We hope to have you back on the show someday after your big win.
Thank you very much. I would love to.
Okay.
All right. Take care, man.
Take care.
Thank you.